Not going back. You guys ready for this one? Something in your life, and you would say, if this thing could either add to or take away, it would make my life so much better. Don't answer out loud. What would it be? Thank you, Red. What would it be? What would that one thing be? So we were watching this week, I guess, the lottery winner. 20 years old. Are you stinking kidding me? So I'm going to class right now to be a financial advisor. I'm going to look them up and help them how to spend that 231 years. You know what I would do? I don't know. You know, I mean, think about it. That's a lot of stinking money that he's going to have to figure out, what am I going to do with this? I bet you he has a lot of friends right now. Right? He'll go on his Instagram like, I got a lot more followers now than I used to have. But I mean, I think some people might say that, you know, if I had $200 million, my life would be better. But then you got to watch those shows where it says how the lottery ruined their lives, right? How they lose friends and how they, I mean, you know, I remember watching one show, and I don't want to offend anybody by this, saying what I'm about to say, but usually I do offend people when I speak, because that's usually what happens. But there's one guy, he's like, yeah, we added on to our double wide, we bought a couple of ATVs, and I don't know where the rest of the money went, and we're broke again. Oh, okay. I'm on my 5th marriage. This is happening. This is happening. Worse. So the question then is, I want to ask you again, is like, what would make your life better? So then we saw, was it yesterday or the day before, we saw that somebody accidentally fell asleep at the wheel and pushed a button in Hawaii. People are rushing to these bomb shelters, and what's funny is in these bomb shelters you have these Hollywood celebrities that are texting going, I'm gonna die. What would you do? I bet you that answer would definitely be a lot different than your answer to make your life better. Because in that moment, it's not about money or house or car or job that would make a difference. It would be who you are and your relationships and people around you. The Bible tells us in Hebrews chapter number 11, I want you to find that if you would. It says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. That's the very first verse of chapter 11. The thing, the missing ingredient, I think, in everybody's life to make their life better is faith. It really is. It's faith. That's the ingredient that in other words, we want to put every I work harder, I will do this. If I move up the corporate ladder, this will be better for me. If I have more people following me, this will be better. You know what? So faith is this thing that we know that God speaks to us and God says to us, and then we say, okay, you know, God's in control. Going back to where you came from. It's about you not going back the same. It's about God doesn't care about circumstances and things around you. He cares about you. It's all about you. It really is. And faith, it takes us on this journey, and God says, okay, I'm going to take you, and I'm going to move you to places where I want to put you. And when you realize where I'm putting you in these places, it's going to be better for you and benefit you and bless you. But God, that's not where I want to go. God says it's not for you to decide. You have to have faith to trust me that I'm going to take you to where you need to go. Amen. Because you can't go back. Matter of fact, if you had a chance right now to go, what if I make the wrong move? See, faith says it's bigger than me. It's bigger than what this is all about. This is about God directing and leading my life. And if He's leading and directing my life, I'm growing. And if I'm growing, I don't have to go back. Amen. Because I'm different. Amen. Praise God. Verse 13 says this of Hebrews 11. It says, these all, which previously in verses 1 through 12, he mentions Abel, Enoch, Noah, Abraham, and Sarah. Okay? These all died in faith. Here's what's amazing. Not having received the things promised, but having seen them and greeted them from afar, and having acknowledged that they were strangers and exiles on the earth. It's a long verse. So here, these people, Abraham, Sarah, Noah, Enoch, Abel, they had promises that God made to them, and they didn't actually achieve those promises or see that come to fulfillment, but they could actually, with their faith, see that in the distance and say to themselves, this is where I'm going. But yet they never got there physically. And it says this, verse 14 says, for the people who speak and thus make it clear that we are seeking a homeland. If they had been thinking of that land, this verse 15 blows my mind. If they had been thinking of that land from which they had gone out, they would have had an opportunity to return. So what he's saying is, at any time in their faith walk, they could have gone back. At any time in their journey, they could have stopped and said, God, I'm not following you on this journey. I'm just going to go back to what I know. But what happens if you just go back to what you know? What happens if you don't allow God by faith to move you on the path that He has you? You're never going to grow. You're never going to get better. You're never going to be able to find blessings from God. You're going to stay in the same rut. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to just stay in the same rut. Isn't that why we make all these New Year's resolutions? Who made a New Year's resolution this year? Okay? Who already broke their New Year's resolution? Who said this year, I break it every year, I'm just not going to do this anymore? Honesty, that's what we love, right? But you know what happens? We don't want to get into the same rut. We look at the previous year and we say, this year's going to be different. It only can be different if you are different. It only can be different if you relinquish control of what you want to do and say, God, what do you want me to do? They desire, listen, a better country that is a heavenly one. Therefore, God is not ashamed to be called their God, for He has prepared for them a what? A city. Oh, yes. Listen to me. I know we have a lot of people talking about all this stuff in our country and immigration. Let me tell you something right now. Every single one of you, if you're a Christian, you're an immigrant. Amen. You don't even belong here. This ain't your home. Bad English, I know, but I said it. We have a heavenly home. There's another place for us to go to. We're just passing through. This is not what we're all about. Man, $200 million, let's invest it so we can get more people to go home with us. Amen. Right? Yes. And yet what happens is we get all this money and all this stuff, we win these lotteries, we build bigger houses for somebody else to live in. We have drive fancy cars that lose their value. We have clothes that by the end of this year we won't be able to fit into. Right? You with me so far? So what's going to make our life better? What makes our life better is knowing that God has all of us on a journey right now in this moment. Amen.
Amen.
Let me give you some thoughts on these passages. You ready? Just things that I was reading and that was just jumping out at me, and I want to just share these with you. Our desire for better. What does that mean? It means looking ahead with expectation. Our desire for better. Do you really believe that 2018 is going to be better? Let me tell you something right now. After my 2017, I'm not saying nothing, but it's got to get better. It's got to get better. It has to. Why? Because that's the hope I'm holding on to. If it doesn't get better, I'm going to wait for the next year to get better. You see what I'm saying? I mean, if I just sit there and say, woe is me, and go, I just don't want to do this. I want to hang this up. I don't want to do this no more. God says, you're not there yet. You know, there's nothing more depressing than talking to somebody in the twilight of their lives when it should be the best time of their life. You know, people who are in that retirement age, and they think that I've already worked, I've already done everything I can do. No. It's just beginning for you.
Amen.
If you are breathing and you're alive and you have a voice and you have a mind, there is a plan and a purpose for your life. It doesn't matter how old or young you are. Are you kidding me? God took Moses at 80 years old to walk back into Egypt and take them out at 80.
Amen. Amen.
Listen, if an 80-year-old dude comes up to me and starts doing some miraculous sign with his walking cane, I'm listening. Right?
Amen.
And if he says to me, I saw God in a burning bush, I'm listening. If I see him stand at the Atlantic Ocean and hold his staff up and it parts, I'm walking. Doesn't matter how old you are. Doesn't matter how young you are. You think, well, I'm too young. My life doesn't even begun. Let me tell you something. David was a shepherd boy watching sheep as a kid, and God says, you're going to be king. But you can't be king unless you tend the sheep. There's a journey everybody has to go on. I know this might sound crazy, but people also might say things about you that aren't true. That's the society in which we live today. I don't know about you, but have you noticed in the news, alleged crime, alleged crime, alleged crime? Whatever happened to innocent until proven guilty? I think that's still our law. But yet we live in a culture where if that's how you feel, you can put or say whatever you want, and the person's already convicted, condemned, and executed before anything ever happens. You know what faith says? Faith says, I ain't done yet, player.
Right.
It ain't over yet.
Right.
You don't control my life. You don't control me. God controls everything that I do.
Amen. Amen.
That's not me. That's you. So you're not bound by your age. You're not bound by your social status. You're not bound by how much money you have in the bank or don't have in the bank. What bounds you to the expectation of looking ahead is who is your God and how big is He? And all these people in Hebrews 11 says they looked ahead with expectations. Let me read some verses to you to kind of bring this home. Psalms 119:68 says, you are good, and what you do is good. Teach me your decrees. The psalmist is saying to God, you are a good God.
Amen.
Two people just jump back and say, good God. But no, He's a good God.
That's right.
Not a James Brown lyric, a good God.
Amen.
He is a good God. Listen to Amen.
Amen.
Everything that's going to happen to your life, whether you think it's bad or good, comes from a good God.
Amen.
And He says to you that I do this for your benefit. I do this to you because I need you to understand what I'm doing in your life. So when you go to the doctor says to you, if you have this, you say, I know what you're saying, but there's a good God at work.
Amen.
And He's doing this on my behalf for my good. I need to find out what that is. And I know sometimes in life we don't really see that, but we might have a relationship that's strained. Maybe we have kids that are just, crazy because of what your ex did to them. Because it ain't your fault. They come from your gene pool. And you say, but God's at work.
Right.
No matter what we do here on earth, there's a heavenly Father that loves them, and I'm expecting God to redeem them and restore them and rebuild them.
Amen.
Psalms 107:1 says, oh, give thanks to the Lord, for He is good. Listen, for His steadfast love endures forever. His steadfast love endures forever. You know what that means? Doesn't matter what you do in this life, he doesn't stop loving you.
Amen.
You got to get a hold of that. Because the enemy will tell you that the sin that you have in your life will stop God from loving you. And that's a lie.
Right.
That's right.
God says that my love is steadfast.
Amen.
My love is bigger than your sin.
Right. Amen.
You still don't hear me, so I'm going to read another verse to you because you don't get it yet. Here we go. James 1, verses 5 through 8 says, if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives it generously to all without reproach, and it will be given to him. But let him ask in faith, with no doubting. For the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea that is driven and tossed by the wind. For that person must not suppose that we will receive anything from the Lord. He is a double-minded man and unstable in all of his ways. In other words, when you ask God for wisdom and you ask God to help you and lead you and guide you, you ask that in faith, knowing that he's going to answer that. Knowing that with expectation that he's going to be able to do what he has to do in your life. Because you see him working. He doesn't feel it right now. The situation doesn't come around right now, but you know in faith he's going to do it.
Right.
right.
Amen.
Praise God.
So you want something better for your life, you have to look at it with expectation. Here's the second one. You ready? Our desire for better means that knowing you don't belong where you're at. Passing through. Philippians 3:20 reads it this way. It says, but we are citizens of heaven. Waiting for him to return as our Savior. Do you want to know why church is so messed up? Because Jesus ain't come back yet.
Right.
Do you know why marriage is so hard? Because Jesus hasn't come back yet. Do you know why your best friend will turn on you? Because Jesus hasn't come back yet.
My Lord.
Do you know why you got money problems? Because Jesus hasn't come back yet. Do you know why everything in life is just hard and difficult sometimes? Because Jesus hasn't come back yet. And when he comes back, he's going to set it right. And when he comes back, he's going to make it all anew and afresh. That's why he says for us to give grace and love people and give them the benefit of the doubt and honor them and love them and care for them. Because he knows it's not right. When I come back, I will set everything in order. Isn't that the promise that he made? We're just passing through. This is not where we belong. This is not where our stopping point is. This is not where God has us forever. He said, I'm moving you and I'm transitioning you and I got a plan for you. You have to trust me. Our desire for better, thirdly, means this. Clearly vocalize. Have you ever had somebody that you hung out with and they were just always negative? Everything that came out of their mouth was just negative, 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 negative. So you're going, yes.
Wow.
There's always, you got somebody in your life like that. If they're family members, you're stuck with them forever. If they're your friend, you only have to see them once a month. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, there's always people that are always negative. Listen to this. Here's what we believe. Words that you speak will show the content of your heart. And my wife and I began to what we call speak life over things. We began to say, verbally saying to the enemy, God is in this and he's going to get me through this. God is going to work here. God's going to do this. I am expecting God. We would verbalize positive words of what we felt God put in our hearts. And when you do that, I'm telling you, the whole climate of your room and your situation will change. Proverbs 10:11 says this, the words of the godly, listen, are a life-giving fountain. The words of the wicked conceal violent intentions. The words of the godly are like a fountain of life. And when you begin to speak life over people and life over situations and life over the people that you care about and love, I'm telling you, everything changes.
Oh, yes.
Because you're speaking truth into a dark situation. Proverbs 8:21 says this, those who love me, this is talking about wisdom, those who love me will inherit wealth. They will fill their treasuries. He's talking about wisdom. People who seek after wisdom, that they will actually inherit wealth from being wise. And we just read that James says, he who lacks wisdom, do what? Ask the Lord for it. You have to verbalize. Can you imagine Abraham Maybe at those nights where he's sitting there going, God's going to call me to a better promised land. I'm going to have all. God says, look at the stars. You see the stars? Yeah. That's how many kids you're going to have. I am 90 stinking years old. Do you know how long it takes me to get up in the morning and get ready? Do you realize how when I get up and I walk for 30 minutes, my bones are aching? You're telling me this is it? God says, this is it. Okay. Okay. If you say so. And I bet you he had moments of doubt. In the middle of the night, he can't sleep. Or maybe he gets up super early. I hear that's what happens when you get older. You get like super early. You go to bed after Jeopardy and you wake up before the sun gets up. I just heard that's what happens. And I bet you he wakes up before the sun comes up, and he gets up and he goes up for his morning devotions, and he goes and says, God, I don't know how this is going to happen. Takes a deep breath and he looks up and he sees the stars. And he's reminded. You don't think Noah, after he got off this boat, the first rain that came, you don't think for a minute, you didn't think is it ever going to stop? And he looks up and sees a rainbow. And he's reminded of God's promise. Somebody said this one time. They're like, the first thing Noah did after he gets off the boat, he planted a vineyard, right? Y'all know that? He planted a vineyard, and then he made wine. And then he got drunk. And someone said, if you were on a boat for 40 days with your family, the first thing you want to do is get off the boat and get drunk too. But you got to get to the place where you speak life over things and you let your voice and you let God. It's okay to. And if you're that weird person in your car driving to work, knowing that you're probably going to have a bad day, and you're in your car and you're going, God, I need you to be at my work. I need you to speak life there. I need you to give me wisdom. I need you to tell me what to do. I need your presence to be strong. If you don't let that crazy woman or that man talking to yourself in the car at the red light, be that person, because I'm telling you, speaking life over situations makes all the difference.
That's right. Amen.
You want something better, begin to speak it.
Yes.
Begin to speak it. The next one is this. Our desire for better means purposing in our hearts. Never going back means missing out. Never going back means missing out. I'm a big music guy, and I love music of all kinds, and I love music history. I'm the guy that sat there on Netflix and watched for 3.5 hours the story of the Eagles because I just like it, right? I want to hear stories, and how many stories of bands do we hear, or singers, or actors, or whoever, or even inventors, that if they would have given up and went home, they would have missed out on the greatest opportunities of their life. And I kind of look at that like faith in us. Is that if we go to God and we get to the point where we're weary and we're just dragging, and God says, just take one more step. And you're like, I can't. He says, do it. And then you go, it's so much easier to turn around and go back. And God says, if you don't take that step, you're going to miss out on what I have for you. You have to purpose in your heart and say, God, my heart is going to be conditioned to move forward with you. Let me read this to you. Daniel 1, verse 8 says, but Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with a portion of the king's meat. Daniel was in a situation where they wanted him to eat the king's food. They wanted him to drink the king's wine. And he says, listen, I'll tell you what, I don't want to eat that stuff because God forbids me to eat it, but I'll make a bet with you, in a sense. I'll make a deal with you. You let me go a certain amount of time and eat what God has called me to eat, and then at the end of the time, we'll come back and look and see what I look like and see what they look like. And you'll be able to see my countenance and be able to see God's blessed that. But see, Daniel couldn't do it because he was just a good Christian or a good follower, a good Israelite. He did it. He said he had a purpose in his heart. You know, if you want to make any commitment, you have to start in your heart. Right? You know that? You want to get married and have a successful marriage, it begins in your heart. You want to have kids and not kill them by the time they're 3? You got a purpose in your heart. You want to be successful at anything in life that we call success? It starts here. It starts here. You want to follow God passionately this year? You want your faith to grow even more? It starts here. You can't just say, I'm going to do this. You have to begin. It begins in your heart. Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself. The next one is this. Our desire for better means walking the journey with God. Walking the journey with God. Leviticus 26. Let me just read this to you. And I just want you to stop for a minute, and I want you to just think about the words I'm reading. I will walk among you. I will be your God, and you will be my people. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, so you would no longer be their slaves. I am reminding you of where you came from. That's why you don't want to go back, because that's where you came from.
Right.
You were a slave. You were oppressed. You were in bondage. He says this, I broke the yoke of slavery from your neck so you could walk with your heads held high.
Amen.
Glory to God.
Just let it sit in your heart.
Praise Him.
He did that for you. He did that for me. He broke all the junk in the past so that when we walk forward today, we don't have to worry about that stuff. So the next time Satan says, God's not going to bless you because you did this and you did that, and he begins to hurl accusations at you, you go back and read this verse, and you remind him, it was God who brought you out of that slavery. It was God that brought you out of that bondage. It was God that redeemed you and delivered you and set you free. And that you're on a path forward, not a path going back.
Amen.
You can't change the junk you did yesterday or the day before or the day before, but you can trust God with the future. See, the problem is too many people, they want to go back because that's what they know, and they're scared to go forward because that's what they don't know. But what if God says, I need you to walk this valley to get to the mountaintop?
Right. Amen.
Do we ever see anywhere in life where it goes flat and then just shoots up and have a mountain and goes flat again? No, just valleys, and it dips and it goes up and down and up and down. And we have to walk those battles and walk those places. Why? Because God says it's good for you.
Right.
But I don't want to. I'm like, neither do I. But I'm changing you. I'm changing you. I will walk among you. And he's not asking you to walk by yourself. See, that's what you think. You think if I've got to go down this valley, sending me on my way, God says, no, come on, I'll walk with you. You're not going by yourself. You're not there alone. I'll walk it with you. Our desire for better means making a commitment. Listen, making a commitment to see journey to the end. You have to make the commitment to follow the journey through. I love those stories like Lord of the Rings. I know I'm kind of geeking out on you right now. I know, I get it. But just to let you know, I've never read the single book. But I love the movie. I'm that guy. The lazy guy who won't read like the novel. It's like, 4,000 pages thick. And I love how when it starts off at the very beginning of the movie, and then you see, how they take off on this journey. We're going on an adventure. And then by the end of like the third 6-hour movie, right? By the end of it, the characters that started off are completely different than where they were. And it becomes, it's epic. Can I tell you something? That's what God's doing in your life. How you start off yesterday or 10 years ago or 5 years ago, that's not you today, and that won't be you tomorrow. And who you are today is not who you're going to be tomorrow. Think about that. But here's making a commitment. There's several words to express the word commitment. You ever thought about that word commitment? Like, I want you to commit. Okay, Like you stand up before your friends and your family, and you make a commitment at the altar. I'm going to marry this person for life. So I've already told my wife, there's nothing she can do to make me leave her. I will go from her husband to her stalker. It's pretty easy. That's just kind of what's going to happen. But there's a commitment there. I'm committed to you. Why are you following me around? I'm like, you're my wife, and that's what we do. It's just creepy. I know. But listen to this, commitment. Commitment is two things. The first thing is a commitment communicates the entrusting of something valuable to another person. Okay, don't just go over this. Listen to this. Commitment communicates the entrusting of something valuable to another person. Okay, now ready for this one? Are you sitting down? You need to sit down for this thought. If you're still living, and you're still breathing, and you're still communicating, you're still walking, and you still have a life, listen. God has committed something to you that only you can handle. He's entrusting something great to you. He made the commitment to you. Do you know what it takes for you to be here today? Do you know what the chances are for you to actually be a human being, to come at conception? Do you go back and look at that and realize, hey, I'm here? What that took? And to realize the chances of you being here today is absolutely mathematically crazy. And God says that you, here today, I have a plan and a purpose for your life, and I'm going to I'm committing to you something huge. Why? Because He believes in you. Don't miss it. Don't miss that. He's committed to you and entrusted you with something because He believes in you. Commitment is it's not just one person making the commitment, but it's the other person. You're receiving something valuable from somebody else. Here's the second thought. Commitment additionally includes the responsibility to practice a specific activity. So what is God entrusting you with? You ready for this? His greatest message, His greatest thing ever, His Son. You carry His Son in your heart and in your life and in your hands, in your speech, and everything that you do. You are the picture of Jesus to the world. He's entrusted that to you. Oh, no, Jason, that's you, man. You're the preacher. That's just what you know. It's you and me. It's us. Responsible to respond to God's call by committing their heart, their mind, and their body and their life to serve Him, to share the gospel, and to be His ambassadors to the world. We're not here to meet on Sunday morning. We're here to get energized on Sunday morning so that we can go out in the world and take the world over. Amen. And remind people that somebody else is going to live in their homes and drive their cars and wear their clothes. And say there's a bigger picture at play than trying. I already won the lottery. It's called heaven.
Amen. Oh, yes. Praise God.
I'm just passing through. And when my time is done, I'm in heaven. Well, how can you be so sure?
Oh, yes.
Because that's what He promised me. To be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord.
Oh, yes.
And all who die in Christ do not die in vain. We live with a purpose. So let me give you some application. You ready? Here's the first one. Everything we have to look forward to is based on our faith in God. Everything you have to look forward to is based on Him. Jason, have you ever been to heaven? The answer is no. Have you ever seen heaven? The answer is no. Have you ever seen Jesus? The answer is no. Well, how do you know? I know because I know because I know because I know. He's too real to me to be fake. There's too many coincidences in my life. I was reading sometimes you read stuff on the interweb, and there's this book that came out, and it's like the top 1,001 atheists in the world, and it has them like brushing the hair on the llama, has them reading a book by the streams. Look at my life, and it's so happy. I don't believe in God, but yet everything is great. I thought to myself, show me the last 10 minutes of their life. Show me when they're faced with death, the reality of death, and then show me. It says, this is not my home. The promises we believe in, listen, will determine our commitment to reach our destination. What promises do you believe? I'm going to tell you right now, I believe that my sins are covered. I believe that He died for the wicked and the evil. I believe that He's coming again. I believe that the cross is sufficient for everything that I have. I believe that I don't have to worry about what people say about me. I know what He thinks about me because He's already told me what He thinks about me. These are the promises that I stand in. What promises do you believe in? Here's my last thought. You ready? Today, in this moment, the 14th of January, here in this place, where you sit, listen, it's not your final destination. We're just kind of like at a pit stop right now. Hanging out, drinking coffee, eating donuts, singing a little bit, letting some guy come up here and talk. Right? We're just pit stop. We're just taking a break for a moment. This isn't the end. You say, what are the plans for Renewal Church? Check this out. You ready? I don't know. What does God have? I don't really know all that yet. I don't have to worry about that yet. I have to worry about now. In this moment. Right now in this moment. God is in control. God is saying this is the end. I got a plan for you. I'm trusting that. I had things lined up for you. I'm trusting that. But you need to listen to me and follow me. Today, here in this place, in your place, is not the final destination. God's not calling us to sit here and sing Kumbaya. He's calling us to come and trust Him with what He has for the next stages of your life. That might be what you're thinking. God, what do you want from me? What do you have for me? What is it that you want me to do? And see, some of you right now, you're probably going, man, I should be in church more. I'm not going to say it, but hey, if that's the Holy Spirit leading you, I'm just going to tell you. But I'm just saying, maybe that's not it. Maybe it's not about doing things. Maybe I just want you to purpose in your heart to me more. Trust me more. Stop worrying so much. Stop trying to control everything. Just trust me. Just trust me. Will you bow your heads with me? I want to pray over you. I want to challenge you. Your life is never going to get better unless you have faith. Getting better is not things or doing things. Getting better is realizing what's important in life. I don't know about you, but people are important. Maybe God's just calling us right now to not worry about tomorrow. Just to say, okay, God, today, what do you want me to do? So, Father, I just ask that you would speak to our hearts. I ask that you would just get all of these negative thoughts out of our head. That we would begin to verbalize life into our situations. God, we trust you with everything. And we know that you're in control of everything. So God, speak to us in this time of invitation as we open our hearts to you. We ask you to look deep within us. So as we worship you, God, that you would just entrust in us. If there's somebody here, Lord, that's not a believer, they would surrender their hearts to you, knowing that you make it better, not things. or a status or an income. So God, we trust you. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Would you stand with me as we worship together?